Python variables. Variables are nothing but reserved memory locations to store values. This means that when you create a variable, you reserve some space in memory. Based on the data type of a variable, the interpreter allocates memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. Therefore, by assigning different data types to variables, you can store integers, decimals, or characters in these variables. So what we're going to learn here now is assigning values to variables. Python variables do not need explicit declaration to reserve memory space. The declaration happens automatically when you assign a value to a variable. The equal sign is used to assign values to variables. The operand to the left of the equal operator is the name of the variable, and the operand to the right of the equal operator is the value stored in the variable. Let's begin by creating a new file. Let's say we call this numbers. That py. Well, there are different standard data types of Python. There are 5 standard data types, such as numbers, string, list, tuple, and dictionary. For this one, we're gonna manipulate numbers. The most common data types, such as integer and the floating point. So we create numbers.py, so done, and save it to user scripts. Let's say, don't forget to put your shebang line. Okay. /usr /bin/python. There, and let's say we want to create a variable a. A is equal to 10. Therefore, this is an integer. And then b is equal to 10.0, which is a decimal or a floating point. So let's try to print a and print b, and let's run this program. There you go, you have 10 and 10.0, which is a floating. There's another way if you want to document it or put a comment. Let's say, let me give you an example in this one. Okay, so we put a number sign, and let's say this is on integer. There. Sometimes comments are being used for documentation purposes, so that other programmers would have a knowledge on what this variable is for, or what it is. Let's say this is a floating point. There you go. Let's try to run this. There. So it's the same. It will not execute the comments because these are for documentation and these are just comments. So there you go. Let's try to create another variable. Let's say var underscore int and assign it to 200. And let's say we create another variable, which is a float, and assign it to 30.20. And let's try to print it. Print var int and print var underscore float. Okay, done, and run the program. There you go. So you have your variable int, which is assigned to 200, and var float, which is assigned with a 30.20 value. So this is how you create or assign a value to variables. Now if you want to, let's say you wanted to delete this variable so that it doesn't exist anymore in the system. So let's say delete. You can delete it on a single way, like each, or you can also delete multiple variables at the same time. Let's say delete b, and then you put here a comma, and let's say var underscore int and comma var underscore float. And let's try to print this a, print b, print var underscore int, and print var underscore float. So let's try to run this. Oops, there was already an error by printing a, because it says here that line 19, name error, name a is not identified, because we deleted it on line 16, and because of that error it wasn't able to run other parameters. But let's try to comment this thing out there, and there should be an error. There it says that your line 20, which is printing variable b, is not identified because we deleted it on the it is part of the multiple deletion of variables. Let's try to comment it out and try to run it again, just to make sure that the multiple deletion of variables did work. So there, it did work. And let's say lastly we want to try to check on the var float. Click run, and then the var float is also not defined. Now another thing on variable value assignment, you can assign Python allows you to assign a single value to several variables simultaneously, like that. To give an example, let's say it's a is equal to b, which is equal to c, in which c is equal to 2. Now let's try to print a, print b, and print c. Let's try it. There. So printing a, b, and c, in which we assign it in a assign one value simultaneously. So we got a value of 2, 2, and 2, because a is equal to b, which is equal to c, and c is equal to 2. Therefore all the variables are equal to 2. Now, there's also another way to use a multiple assignment. For example, I wanted to assign an integer object. Let's say I have two objects with a value of 1 and 2 with a variable, and I want to assign it. Let's say we have A, let's say D, comma, E, comma, F is equal to, these have a same memory location of assigning variables. Let's say I want this to be 3, 2.0, and 4. Let's print this. Let's say print D, print E, and print F. Let's try it. There. So D is equated to, is assigned with a value of 3, and E is assigned with a value of 2.0, and F is assigned with a value of 4 in one memory allocation. So you can do that declaration for variables.
Please subscribe and thank you for watching. Tune in for more videos.